what I'm going to do a little bit, because we both got thrown in this race back in January, February, March, and I learned a lot. And I want to just brief you what happens in a campaign, at least from my side. So if you flip to that first page, you'll find some tactics that are sometimes used. And what it is these kind of flyers were ran the last 3 days, right before election. In fact, the last one came out on election day. Pretty brutal, backroom politics, things like that. Not overly good. Now, if you flip one more page, you'll see where the story was recanted. Conveniently, it came out in the newspaper the day of election. So the damage is done. There was probably 30,000 of those flyers, mailed out to different places and things like that. I just wanted to let you know, as you flip through some of these pages there, how brutal it is to try to get elected to a job that doesn't pay a whole lot, and you're away from your family quite a bit. So, but that's kind of part of it. Also, here was the tough part, is to have phone calls made against you and things. And when you have phone calls, and they're all coming from Florida, and I was trying to think, how are all these people calling from Florida, these my friends, and they're telling me about this, that these surveys are being done. And it's like, well, who are you voting for? Well, if you say Jeff Taylor, then that's fine, they go on. If it goes on and says, well, I'm voting for Walker Thomas, they're like, well, I'm not saying that he is, but if he was a slumlord, would you still vote for him? Well, I'm not saying he is, but if he was a drug dealer, would you still vote for him? So it's very tough when you know that the whole community is getting votes or getting calls like that. Makes it tough, and makes it tough on my family. We have 5 kids, Sandra and I together, and 2 grandkids, and these are things that we're trying to serve the community. This is a tough business, and politics is, and it shouldn't run that way, and it shouldn't. And so now on my opponent's behalf, I know there was this flyer, and many of y'all saw it with the cheerleading outfit. There is difference on it, and I didn't want to bring that. It is on both sides. Now, sometimes we have control of what's sent out, sometimes we don't. This particular flyer with the cheerleading came from Arlington, Virginia, so obviously no influence there. The flyers that you're looking at in my packet came from Frankfurt, from the Democratic Party. I know I was in control of every flyer that was sent out on my behalf with the Republican Party, so I would think it would be the same there. So, but if you flip a little bit, you'll see the next one is the KREF filings. So you can see there's a lot of money was poured into this race. It was an important race. It was billed as a pivotal race of who's going to take the House. And you see a lot of money came in on both sides. I think one thing that concerned me is the amount of money that, my opponent kept saying, Walker, or don't let these outside interests buy your vote and try to put me in office. And then now you're looking at the KREF filings after it's all said and done, and it was complete opposite. You'll see how many local people entrusted their votes and money to me compared to his. And then you look down and you see the trial lawyers at $15,000, $16,000 almost. Most of that's Morgan & Morgan. It came out of Florida, and that's Speaker Stumbo's law partners. So a lot of money came out from that area. So make sure they say you can always follow the money trail. One thing was brought up that businesses. I have 3 successful businesses. They are running now and still going strong. And I sit there and think, the Kentucky Mirror has been here since 1897. I was involved when I was young, and always had sat on the board and things too. Then the skating rink, 1986 is when I turned it into roller dome. So it's 30 years last month. And then Kentucky Moving, we have been involved since '89. So collectively, I have 90 years of almost business experience. So when you take those 3 different businesses. So if you flip, I think, one more page or so, you'll see the pictures. Now these are pictures I pulled off, his Facebook page. So standing next to Hillary with Stumbo behind him as he signs. And I had Stiver stand behind me on mine. So, and then Bill Clinton and, of course, President Obama. And everyone knows the robocall that kind of came into the community. It made Time Magazine. So it worked its way on up there. Smart move. He ended up winning there on that one. But and I'm not sure it's all just that. But just to bring light to it. So you see the chain there. So what I'm asking is vote your morals and your strong convictions. You see how I stand. There's quite a few flyers out on the tables. And you'll see my strong stance on NRA and gun rights. I had the A endorsement from the NRA. I was endorsed by Kentucky Right to Life and the Kentucky Chamber. So you see where your strong convictions are and my strong convictions are. And, saying all that, it sits there and you sit there and think, well, what's your opponent's platform? Well, unfortunately, now you see why a lot of times character assassination is brought into the whole deal. Because with a platform that has transgender bathrooms being forced upon our kids in school system, let's take away guns and let's get the semi-automatic weapons off the streets, and then eventually you got, let's put coal miners out of work. I mean, we heard that from someone up at the top that's seeking the office. There's going to be a lot of coal miners out of work. And then recently, the one that got me the most was, well, when is abortion okay? And she mentioned that it was okay almost up to birth. There's some strong issues. So when you look at that platform, you can see it's like, okay, there's you keep flipping, and then the next page is how many people, 9,000 people have gone registered Republican in the last 3 months compared to 545 or something like that. The Democratic Party have left our core values, and so many people are switching. I know, I got 2-minute warning. There was a Harvard study just recently, and it popped on my screen just last night, and it said that Kentucky and New Jersey were the 2 most corrupt states for politics. That's bad. Is that what we want to be remembered for? The House has been in the same control since 1921. Let's get in there and sure up pensions, and let's get some of this corruption out of there. Someone was caught buying votes or helping fund one of the big health cares, Longmire, and then someone on the Eastern was caught vote buying. So there's some issues that we have in our state. I know my opponent considers himself more of a pit bull, and pit bulls, they're bred to fight. I understand that. I probably consider myself a little bit more like a lab. I'm loyal. I'm kind but still strong, very energetic, and a hard worker. Just ask any lab at duck season there. They're tough workers there. So at the very end, think, who will have the governor's ear in all this? Who's the one you want to send up there with the governor's ear? If I'm elected, I think he's going to be very friendly and hear some of my concerns and our concerns. Saying all this, I can't help but relate it to a UK basketball game. How do you tie politics into a UK basketball game? Well, the scrimmage was played back in March, and my opponent won the scrimmage. But on November 8th, I want to let you know there's a championship game being played, and I'm going to win that one. I do ask for your vote on November 8th, and I really thank y'all for having us. It's always great to have good food.